Now there is basically a relationship between these three notations, which is denoted by a theorem, and I am writing this theorem here only and try to prove it by yourself. Okay, the theorem is that you can like this. There is a theorem, you can like this, like that. The theorem is like that. You can say for any two functions, for any two functions, you can say, let's say these functions are f and gn. F and gn, we will write it. We can say we have fn is equal to theta of gn. We have fn is equal to theta of gn if and only if and only if fn is equal to bo of gn and also fn is equal to omega of gn, and fn is equal to omega of gn. Okay. That is, we see that for any two function f and gn, a gn function will act as both upper and lower bound for fn if gn is acting as the upper bound for fn and gn is acting as the lower bound for fn. And we have seen in the theorem, in the example which we have covered. Okay. Now coming to the next topic, which is known as basically the small o notation. Small o notation. Just remember that to make a difference between that, I have told that the big O notation earlier was used to represent both. It can represent the loose upper bound and tighter upper bounds. But to make a differentiation, we basically use big O notation to represent only the tighter bounds, and we use small o notation to represent the loose bound. That is, if there is basically fn function, then gn function will act as a lower loose bound, asymptotically loose bound for loose upper bound for fn, such that you can say if 0 is less than or equal to fn is less than cgn. That is, if we multiply the gn function with the constant c, then its result is always greater than fn, not equal to. Then we say that small o notation acts as the you can say acts as the asymptotically loose upper bound for fn function. Okay, that is, let's say if fn function is, for example, n square and gn function, let's say I take as n cube, then you will notice that for fn function, gn function will always act as an upper bound, and which is basically the loose upper bound. And in limit, you can say that in this case, if I calculate the limit of n tends to infinity, fn upon gn, it should always come to 0. Okay. Then the last notation is basically the omega notation. Omega notation is, this is basically the small omega notation. By analogy, as we know, omega notation, small omega notation is to big omega notation, as small o notation was to big O notation. We use omega notation to denote a lower bound that is not asymptotically tight. It is basically used to represent the asymptotically loose lower bounds, similar to the small o notations. That is, we say that here we say that for fn function, gn function will act as the lower bound in such a way that 0 is less than or equal to cgn is less than or equal to fn. That is, if I multiply the gn function with the constant c, then its result is always smaller than the fn function. That is, if I say, or in reverse, you can say, one definition is like that. Or you can say that, let's say if fn is n cube and gn is, let's say, n square, then gn function will always act as the asymptotically loose lower bound for fn function. Okay. And in terms of limit, you will consider if I apply limit here and calculate the result Fn upon Gn, then if the result is always coming to infinity, then Gn function will act as the lower loose bound for Fn function. Okay. These are basically the fundamental concept related to the asymptotic notations.